Joining us now for a closer look at this volatility is Bob McNally, founder and president of the Rapidan Energy Group. He's also the former special assistant and senior director for international energy on the National Security Council under the George W. Bush administration. Bob, the big question here that everyone is asking is, what is the timeline going to be? I'm wondering if there is a date on the calendar that you are looking at, and if you could also put into context for us what the real timeline is going to be once we start to see pipelines turned back on. How long will it actually take to get those barrels back to market?
Great to be with you, Tyler. And I won't be offended if you stop having me on, because I wish I had better news. I really did. But my team and I, we mapped this out last June, a Hormuz disruption analysis, consulted military officers. And we assumed if we prioritize suppressing Iran's many ways of interdicting ships that Mark Esper just discussed, you're still looking at, weeks. A 30-day scenario was the longest we even mapped out last June. And now it's looking like that would be a base case. So I wish I had better news. It just doesn't look like there's even a minimum level of protection there and safety for, as Secretary Esper said, for U.S. Navy ships to enter, much less commercial cargo tankers. So I think we're looking at many weeks of continued disruption and some pretty stark math for oil and LNG markets and other things, urea, sulfur, et cetera.
Bob, your research has been indispensable for our coverage this week, and we thank you for it. You've had among the more sobering takes of any oil analyst or any energy analyst that we have heard from, yet you have been spot on. It's all been coming true. And you're, I know, throwing a lot of doubt on this release of 400 million barrels by the IEA. As you write, history suggests timing issues and drawdown rates mean this may have absolutely no impact. Could we see $150 a barrel? If this is weeks more, as you suggest, how high does crude go?
Well, and I want to say, there's been some poo-pooing, if you will, of Department of Energy's ability to bring those barrels to market. That's the good news. I don't believe it. I think DOE will release those barrels. They'll come on in the coming weeks, and it's the right thing to do. So the system's responding. They're trying to redirect oil as well through the East-West pipeline. So all steps are being taken. But the problem is, the Hormuz artery, if you will, is just too big and important, and these steps won't really matter. So, look, oil prices, I'm afraid, are going to continue marching in the triple-digit range until one of two things happen. There's a ceasefire, and the Iranians and the United States agree to stop shooting at each other, and they stop shooting at those ships. Or prices will march until they enforce the iron law of economics, which says you can't consume what you can't produce. And the world economy can't grow without 20% of its energy. I'm just sorry. That's just true. And so we can go well into the mid $100 range and beyond if necessary to slow economic growth. I hope it doesn't go that far, but that's the direction of travel.
Well, President Trump has said that higher prices are good for domestic producers. But can domestic producers benefit when there is just so much uncertainty here about the timeline, how long this will last, and the risk of maybe government intervention bringing down oil prices?
Yeah, I think domestic producers are cautious because it's been 20 years now that we've been on Space Mountain roller coaster ride for prices. And they've come to learn that when prices start to spike up, that's a signal that they're going to crash down. Busts follow booms, and so they're going to be cautious. The last thing they want to do is hire an expensive rig and workers and pull them out this summer and then find that we've had a crash after a spike, which tends to happen. So I think they're going to be cautious about ramping up activity like everybody else. It's hunker down and just wait to see that this thing blows over.
We've got a national average of $3.63 for gasoline, according to AAA. Bob, if crude stays in the triple digits like you're suggesting, is $4 next?
I'm afraid so, national average. Yeah, I think we'll head there and see that. The real question is, do we even go beyond the all-time highs for pump prices, which we saw in the summer of 2022? Back then, we thought we were going to lose Russian oil, 3 million barrels a day, and we went to $5 a gallon. We didn't lose a drop. Now we are losing 20 million barrels a day, 15 if you consider some redirects. And with no end in sight, I think, unfortunately, we could see record highs for pump prices.
Boy. We've only got 30 seconds left. Bob, is this the right time for the government to be buying crude oil futures?
I don't understand that. The federal government should not be involved in the futures markets. And I'm hopeful. Secretary Bessent, he worked for Soros. Legendary, the London office, they took on the Bank of England, which tried to hold the pound to an unsustainable rate and broke the Bank of England, Black Wednesday, for those of us who remember. So it's very dangerous for governments to bet taxpayer money. I'm told they're not doing it. I know there's a rumor going around. I'm told it's not happening. I hope it's not happening.
We're going to talk to Secretary Burgum coming up, and we'll ask him. Bob, it's great to have you back. Rapidan Energy, George W. Bush administration, and a real voice of experience. Bob, thank you. This is